Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Coaches Corner University podcast. I am your host, Paul Oneid, and today I am joined once again by my lovely co-host, Olivia Oneid. Liv, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. My biannual co-hosting.
Yeah, once in a while I'll bring you on. I would love to have you on more often if you weren't so freaking busy.
Yeah. What can I tell you?
So today is a very special podcast. Liv and I are joined by Claire Currie. Claire is one of our clients with Master Athletic Performance. She was working with Olivia or has been working with Olivia for how long now, Claire?
Oh man, I first got paired with Olivia in like 2019, but it's been like on and off since then.
Awesome. So, longtime client, and Claire just went through her first prep for a bodybuilding show. And we wanted to have her on to talk about what the experience was like, what she learned during that process, and give a little bit of insight on what it takes. So, Claire, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Super excited to be
Yeah,
here.
we're super excited to have you. So, maybe start off with like, who are you, and how did your fitness journey bring you here?
Well, I am a physical therapy student right now. I'm finishing my last year at UT Health in Central Texas. My fitness journey started with high school powerlifting. I started the team at my high school up in Lubbock. Um, Competed there for like 2 years, and then after I graduated high school, I ended up going to a college that didn't really have like a lifting scene. And so I kind of started to get into like I called it like the adult powerlifting leagues, like outside of school. And navigating that was pretty crazy because I was like, 17, 18, hanging out with a bunch of 30-year-olds at a powerlifting gym nearby. And eventually I got into strongman. And so then I was doing strongman, but man, I put on the freshman like 40 my
Oh,
first year of
wow.
college doing that. And so eventually I just got really sick of, being fat. And so then I signed up for like a nutrition, whatever, just to try it out. And that's how I found Olivia. And the rest has just been history, I guess.
So you started working with Liv while you were still with Hybrid, eh?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was doing strongman and I just wanted to get down a weight class. And that's initially why I started tracking my food for the first time. And then when I started to see like the body recomposition, I got kind of hooked on that aspect. And I was like, wait a second, like I like this way better than strongman. And so, yeah, now I'm
So,
here.
I mean, from a competition perspective, you've kind of done it all. You've done powerlifting, you've done strongman, now you've done bodybuilding. Which was the hardest?
Definitely bodybuilding. I
Yeah.
even ran a half marathon in there too. And even that, I would say bodybuilding is by far the hardest thing I've ever done.
Why do you say that?
Because it's your whole life. Like the other sports, you can just train, and then the rest of your life, you're just going about your normal like hobbies and hanging out with friends. And when I signed up for a bodybuilding prep, I had no idea like the extent that it would ask of me to be successful, but it consumed my whole life, definitely.
Now, would you say that's a bad thing or is it a good
Um,
thing?
for me, since I love training and I love that, it didn't bother me, but I can understand why everyone around me is kind of like, oh, that's weird that you're doing these things, and you know, other people don't get it, but the people in the space they get it and they love it, and I have gotten hooked on that also.
What ultimately was your decision to start a prep?
Um, honestly, it was super impulsive. I think that's kind of like my superpower, impulsivity. That's why I jumped into a half marathon too. But I just knew that it would challenge me, and I was kind of like in a space where I had seen people bodybuilding
Hmm.
and how dialed they had to be and like how disciplined. I was like, man, I want to do that. Like that's so cool. And I had a friend close to me who was also in a prep, and I realized like I was tracking my food, I was doing cardio, I was lifting 4 days a week. I was doing all of these things already. I thought anyways, and I was like, I'm more consistent than this person is, and they're in prep. Like I could do this. And so I just signed up for it.
Yeah. I was going to say it was maybe impulsive in terms of, okay, like overnight, I'm going to do it. But there was a lot of time and like years building up to that point
Hmm.
to be recognizing I'm already living this lifestyle. So why don't I do it? And I think it was like in the back of your head previously. I think we had chatted about it maybe a year ago, but there was still just like that mental space of, I know I'm mentally ready for this. Let's do
Mhm.
it and pull the trigger.
That feeds into the question that I was going to ask you, Liv. I mean, working with a seasoned competitor is one thing, but working with somebody who's never competed in a bodybuilding show before and never been through a prep, what are some of the conversations that went into, getting Claire mentally prepared for this decision?
Well, I mean, we definitely had conversations early on, and I guess like as calories started to come down pretty low, of you're gonna feel like shit, you're gonna be really tired, and expect that it's not gonna be easy. And also just that like trusting relationship of, we know you're past with relationship with food. This prep may bring those things about again. If anything happens, like, let's talk about it, right? It's not a, oh, you did bad, now go do 2 hours of cardio to burn that off. It's, let's have a conversation, let's regroup and move forward. um, and we didn't really have to have any of those conversations. uh, so
Okay. Now, I mean, relationship with food is something that we hear about a lot in the bodybuilding space. People will talk about how bodybuilding can give them an eating disorder. I never really bought into that. I think if you have disordered eating habits, it could definitely make things worse. Um, Maybe before I ask the question, Claire, do you want to talk a little bit about like what your relationship with food was when you started the prep, or like what you've been working on prior to starting that?
Yeah, when I first started working with Olivia at my freshman 40, I think I had already developed kind of like, not, I wouldn't say like I just had straight up had an eating disorder, but my relationship with food was toxic. And
Mm,
Olivia recognized that pretty quick. That's not why I signed up to work with her, but like as she put me on like a regimented like macros, I guess that was the first time I had been restricted in any kind of way with food, and that's when I realized like, oh, I have a problem. I was really bad about binge eating in the
mm,
past, and I think that was because of high school powerlifting. Like making that weight class was like pretty unhealthy in the ways we did it. Like my whole
mm,
team, we would just put down a pack of laxatives if we didn't make weight that day, or punish ourselves with, I don't know. It was just unhealthy, like going into the space. And so that's the only reason I feel like I could be successful, like in this past prep, because Olivia was so good about like calling me out, like with my intentions with food. Like, hey, you did these things. Like, why? Like, what are you feeling in that moment? What do you feel after? How do you handle it? How do we move forward from this so that this doesn't happen again? And she gave me like a ton of strategies to just like not do that again. And I feel like implementing that over time, especially because it wasn't like an overnight change either,
oh yeah.
has been what has made me so successful past like that point.
I remember one at one point there was a time where you went back home to visit your parents, and you had this like recognition, or I want to say epiphany, but it's not an epiphany really, but realization of, oh, this is why every time I go to my parents' house, I have such a hard time controlling myself, is because those old habitual things from making weight. It was just the environment there and these old feelings that would arise every time that you went to your parents' house. So even just that of being able to better study your life and figure out why these things are happening, um, it's just really cool to see you make those connections and be so aware of why things are happening, how you're feeling, and what are tying these emotions together.
Liv, how do you go about having these conversations with someone in a way where, obviously, if someone's having a relationship with food issues or disordered eating habits, that brings along a lot of guilt and shame. So, navigating that as a coach is probably one of the most challenging conversations that we can have. How do you set the stage for a productive conversation when you know emotions are very high?
um, I'll usually like I usually put a little bit of my own experience in there.
Mm.
to let people know, because I feel like a lot of my clients like look up to me and think that I'm just perfect all the time. But I've gone through those really, really messy years. So just sharing a little bit about, hey, I've struggled with this before. This has happened to me, just to kind of soften that a little bit and make
Yeah.
them not feel so alone through it, or like they're doing something so bad. Um, but it's really just asking questions.
Mhm. Yeah. That motivational interviewing piece of like, as Claire, you alluded to, it's just about figuring out what the motivations behind those behaviors are. Because ultimately, when we're having problems with food, it comes down to like reactionary habits where we feel stress or we feel sadness or we feel anxiety and we seek food as a coping strategy. That's a lot different than deciding, hey, I'm going to treat myself to a meal out and I'm going to purposefully indulge, right? That purposeful decision that's conscious is a much different process than I'm just going to start eating and whatever happens, happens. One is going to have, a ton of enjoyment, a ton of, mouth pleasure associated with it. And the other one is just going to be filled with guilt and shame. So I love that, these conversations are happening prior to entering into the prep. Because as I mentioned, I don't personally think bodybuilding will give you an eating disorder. It can definitely make one worse. But for me, it's such an opportunity to actually work on those skills. Because if there's going to be a trigger, you're going to have that trigger during a prep. Is it like during your prep, Claire, did you feel triggered or like, oh, I'm feeling like I need to binge or I want to binge? Like, were you having those feelings or was it pretty well managed throughout?
I haven't had like a binge episode, I guess I would call it, in a while, like a year or maybe over
Oh,
that.
wow. Good for you.
It's been amazing. I mean, working with Olivia honestly has done that for me. And being in prep, I feel like when I had that goal in mind, I didn't know like how a binge would change my prep. Like I didn't know if it'd put me back a month or 2 weeks, or and I didn't want to find out. And so I never like felt the need to test those waters.
Mm,
I mean, after my comp, I definitely like binged then because I competed Saturday. Um, and then Sunday I kind of binged. And then Monday I was like, I am not doing this. Like I have been through, I recognized what I was doing, and I laying in bed with that uncomfortable bloat and you can't sleep. I was like, oh no, like the old me is coming back. Like I can't do this. And so I'm glad me and Olivia had those talks about like reverse dieting and making sure that that wasn't going to happen. But I think if I was going to fall back into binging, it would have happened this week. But I
yeah, what
feel
happened like post show?
definitely, definitely,
Yeah,
definitely.
because I mean, like during prep, like you said, you don't want to test those waters of what's going to happen if I do, and you have that end goal. So it's like, I can do this for one more week. I can do this for 2 more weeks, and you can just keep saying that and get through. And then once the show's over and you start to get like a taste of this delicious, yummy food, it can be hard to stop. So making sure you have those goals mentally of how you want to handle yourself and how you want to feel through those first few weeks post show.
Yeah, I can tell you that binging on a prep is horrendous and you don't want to do it. I've shared that story a number of times in the podcast about, going overboard and not being able to stop. And it's not a fun time. I will tell you that. Liv can attest to the state I was in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's also a difference between overeating and then actually binging,
Yeah.
right? Like binging, you're making yourself sick.
Yes.
Paul Paul was very sick.
Paul was very, very sick. Um, so as now we're navigating a relationship with food, we're navigating, the mental part of prep physically. Let's talk physically because for someone who's never done a prep and gotten to those low body fat percentages, did you feel like you were mentally prepared for what ended up happening?
No, absolutely not. I had no idea what I had signed up for.
Talk to me a little bit about that. Like what was it like? And at what point during prep did you start feeling that way? How did you, play those mental gymnastics to get around it?
So I think I already mentioned it. Like I was like, oh, I'm already doing, I'm basically in bodybuilding prep already. Like, I'll just sign up for a show. But I think about 10 weeks out is when it got really real for me. Like, the amount of cardio I was doing on like the low amount of food and like still expected to keep a certain intensity in the gym 4 days a week or whatever. Like, and working, oh my goodness. Like, the fatigue was just wearing on me mentally and physically. Like, every morning when my alarm would go off, I was like, am I going to get up? I don't know. Like, am I going to do this cardio today or am I going to skip it? Like, it just started
Mm,
not just like mentally, like self discipline wise, but like my body felt it. I was like limping around everywhere. And as soon as I was off the clock for that day, in bed, like I was just exhausted all the time.
yeah. Liv, when Claire was talking, all I kept thinking about was that one day during prep last year where you woke up when your heart rate was like 120 resting, and you're like, oh, I don't know if I can get through this day. The day you woke up at like 3 in the
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah, I woke up at 3 in the morning and my heart rate, I think it was over 120. Like it was just, it was going. And you have those days and you're just like, how am I going to get through the day? How am
Mhm.
I going to get on the Stairmaster? How am I going to finish this? And for reference, Claire was up to 75, or did we go up to 80?
75.
75 minutes of cardio.
That's a lot of cardio.
It's a lot. And as I kept, and we had to, right? Like if we wanted to get her stage lean,
Yep.
we had to do something, and her food was already quite low. And I mean, that's kind of what it takes as a natural competitor.
Hmm.
But as I kept increasing calories, I'm like, I'm sorry, like you're going to feel this, and you can split it up as much as you need to, but
Increasing cardio, you mean, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I find for me, like, and this is just my experience, when I'm in the gym, I'm fine because I love training, right? So like that hour and a half, 2 hours when I'm training, I'm good. Even doing cardio after training, I find it so much easier because my heart rate's already elevated from the training. I don't necessarily have to push as hard. But those 22 hours when I'm not in the gym, the way I describe it, and you'll get this because you competed in powerlifting. You know that feeling when you've unracked a heavy squat and your body is telling you just do not bend your knees, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Bodybuilding is that, but for literally every activity during the day, whether it be
Mhm.
getting out of your chair, like taking the dogs out for a walk. I couldn't imagine trying to do a clinical rotation. What was that like?
Oh man, that was another thing I did not think through to the fullest extent. Doing my clinical rotation for school. So, like, I'm getting a grade. This goes into my degree. I need to pass and do well. It's like the first time you're thrown into a clinical setting and someone's just a physical therapist is just kind of following you around and watching you every day to make sure, like, you're checking the boxes that even though you finish the school aspect of your degree, you're able to actually be a clinician. And so, in my head, I was a physical therapist assistant prior to coming back to school to be a physical therapist. And I worked in outpatient
Yeah.
ortho already. And so I was like, oh, easy. Like I could do this in my sleep. Easy. Like perfect timing for a prep. But I ended up getting placed in a clinical setting where the person above me like really pushed me, really dumped a lot of her work on my plate to make her life a little bit easier.
She was a bitch. Let's just say
Yeah, she was pretty
it.
You
uncomfortable.
want to call her out? You want to call her out in case she listens to the
No, I'm doing
podcast?
my
No.
best not to. But it turned out to be a really awful work environment. I showed up every day at like 6:30 to open the clinic
Mhm.
for her, and then I would stay after clinic, like after everybody had gone for another 2 or 3 hours to finish my work and her work. And so I was there like 6 to 6 every day, and so that means I had to get up and do cardio at like 3. I would wake up every day at like 3, and then if I had to gym that day, I would be awake from like 3 to 9 p.m. and then just hit the sheets, and it was pretty
That
brutal.
sounds like my grad school experience.
Yeah.
And I wasn't prepping and I fucking hated it. So
Yeah.
I
It
couldn't
was
imagine.
really hard, really hard.
Um, let's talk a little bit about some lessons that you learned along the way. I'd love to know, like, you go through this, a little bit of a backstory. So I look at, it's no secret, I look at training and nutrition as this like vehicle for personal development, right? So we use hard training, we use dieting, we use gaining phases, we use all these different sort of interventions as a means to like manufacture hardship in our lives to try and make ourselves better people. And I don't think you can orchestrate a more challenging situation than a bodybuilding prep. What were some of the things that you learned about yourself during this process?
Oh man, that's a loaded question. I think it just like pulled out the parts of me that I was kind of first seeing going through like all these accomplishments that I've done in my life. Like this bodybuilding prep exceeds all of those by far, and I think it just really like emphasized the qualities in me that I was kind of seeing a little bit, but it pulled them to the forefront because I had no other choice. In those moments, like when I have 75 minutes of cardio at 3 o'clock in the morning before my awful work day, like every single day I'd wake up and be like, can I do this today? Like, I don't know.
Mm,
And every day when I would check all the boxes, I'd be like, holy crap, I did it. Like, it was just
yeah.
every single day you prove to yourself, like your work ethic, your humility, like all these qualities kept coming up over and over again. And you had to keep reaffirming them in yourself. And I
Hmm.
think that was just like a really beautiful part of prep to
That's
keep
a
uncovering those things in myself.
honestly that just gave me goosebumps when you're talking because it's so true. Let's flip it to you, Liv. Like you are facilitating this for Claire, right? You're the one steering the ship. How do you keep her focused on checking the boxes when things get hard? How do you interact with her in a way that's empowering and motivating? Does that change whether they're, your clients in prep or in an off-season setting?
Um, I don't think so. I
Yeah.
mean, what's hard for Claire going through a prep may be just as hard as someone just learning to track their macros or
Yeah.
learning how to navigate a a weekend trip somewhere, right? Like that's the hardest thing that they've done. So that
Hmm.
level of like discomfort is the same. So being able to acknowledge and praise and like be proud of the client so that they can celebrate their wins is huge. I really think during a prep, having that validation from your coach is
Hmm.
just as important as having that like discipline and check your boxes and this and that. It's you need that validation of like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
doing this, I'm making my coach proud, I'm on track, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Because if you don't get that and you don't get that reaffirmment, I think it can be really challenging to keep going if you don't know if you're doing good.
That kind of speaks to me because, I mean, Claire, so I'm in prep as well. As I mentioned before, I'm 2 weeks out. And this is my second show. My first show was a terrible experience for me. I was like very unwell, ran into a whole bunch of issues. But even, myself being a coach for 20 years, reaching out to Jaden and being like, hey man, am I doing a good job? Like I still do that because I need to know that the work that I'm doing is what's expected of me. And I need to know that I'm checking those boxes in the way they need to be checked. And that is so important as a client to have that from your coach. Um, what were some things like I know that we talked about this briefly on one of the biweekly calls that you're kind of that type of person who just needs to know the plan so that they can execute and they don't want to think too much about it. But what were some things that you needed help from Liv to navigate?
Man, she probably has no idea like how much she's helped me because I feel like I'm not the kind of person that is super needy or like reaches out to her often, but just like seeing like who she is through like whether it be like social media or just like in our conversations, like recognizing the grit that she has and seeing the way that she carries herself through a prep, I think was really motivating to me. And so when she comes to me like in these conversations, like the few times that I was like I'm dying. Like, what do I do? And when she's just so raw and unfiltered in her responses to me, knowing who she is behind that response is what pushes me that much further. Like, knowing she's not just putting up this front or just like, oh, you'll be fine, and like not really like having weight behind that because she
Mm,
is an athlete herself and she does go through preps herself and she is also pushing herself to the limits constantly. And
mm,
so when she would tell me like you can do like buckle up, like one more set at a time, like
yep.
I know the weight behind those words. And I think that was ultimately like what kept driving me forward, like knowing like she does this too. She gets it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely, I think, Paul, we've had that conversation before, Paul, of like having a coach that hasn't prepped before,
Yeah.
they don't know how you feel. Like I've been on sub 900 calories. I've been on an hour and a half of cardio. So I know what it feels like and I know it's going to fucking suck. Right. So I'm right there with you.
Yeah. I think walking the walk as a coach is so important for your clients. The other thing that I would love to pull out of that is you said who Liv is as a person, right? So I always preach to coaches that your clients need to know you, like you, and trust you. And that only comes through sharing experiences and actually being a genuine human being. Because if Liv was just this authoritative figure that never actually shared any part of her own journey or any of the struggles that she's, encountered, I think that would make you feel worse about yourself because you're like, oh my God, she's so perfect and I'm trash. At least that's how I would feel, you
Yeah.
know? Um, so when we're going through a prep and we are having all of these, quote unquote prep feels of fatigue and hunger and, you know, questioning our ability to execute, just having somebody there to be like, it's okay. This is normal. You will survive. You can do this. It's just one more. I love what you said, Liv. One more day, one more set, one more cardio session. And if you just focus on the daily checklist, it kind of flies by. Like, how
Not
long was
even
your
that,
prep?
like literally just thinking about the one next thing that you have to do
Mm.
rather
How
than
long?
I have to do my cardio, I have to go to work, I have to train, I have to pose. It's like I have to do cardio. Let's get cardio done. Now I have
Mhm.
to do this. Let's get this done. And then just rinse and
How long?
repeat.
How long was your prep, Claire?
24 weeks.
So over,
20, yeah,
so a half
23,
a year.
24.
So 6 weeks or 6 months of prep.
Yeah.
6 months of a deficit.
Yeah.
Whew.
And I think for 30, somewhere between 35 to 40 pounds that you lost.
Hmm.
How many new clothes did you have to buy?
Oh man, so much. And I didn't want to buy a ton because I knew I would not be that tiny forever. So Amazon was just my best friend for a little bit. All my clothes were like falling off of me. It was like, I think it was like 42 pounds or something like that over the span of 6 months.
What did it feel like stepping on that stage or like looking in the mirror the morning of the show and seeing what you look like? What was that like?
It was like the whole last month or two, I would see myself in the mirror and be like, oh my goodness, like that's what I look like. But even looking back at like stage photos or the morning of, like it was just so surreal. Like even now, like it doesn't feel real to acknowledge like where I came from and like where I was and even where I am like now. I feel like I've
I know
completely.
there's like a lot of first time competitors kind of get to that stage where you're really depleted and just kind of like skinny
Yeah.
and kind of saying like, oh, I don't really know if I like how I look right now, and then getting to stage day when you're a little bit more full and tanned and you see yourself on the stage and photos of you on the stage and it's like, whoa, okay. And that very, very, very delayed gratification of not liking the way you look until you get to stage day and doing it for that one day.
What was that like? How was navigating that? Because like I call it the fugly stage, where you're like lean but not super lean, but you're also really flat, so your muscle doesn't push against the skin, and you just feel kind of stringy. How did you navigate that? Like, was that like, fuck, am I doing something wrong?
Uh, Yeah, I was pretty disappointed, I would say, like for a little bit, just like, oh my gosh, like I thought I was gonna be so much more jacked than this, you know, so much more muscle than this. But I knew it was like all for the better cause, and I think I just trusted Olivia so much that I wouldn't just, stand in the mirror and nitpick for too long because I kind of knew, I guess, that I would like be carb loaded or I
Yeah.
knew that my muscles would look better later, and that's just what I had to keep telling myself as I kept getting smaller and smaller.
I find I go through these stages where like so for the last I was pretty lean when we started prep. So like for the beginning of prep and then up until about last week, I'm wearing tank tops and I'm like, showing a little bit more skin in videos and like stuff like that. The last week, I've worn a t-shirt to the gym every day. I've like covered up cuz I feel skinny. And I mean, to put that into perspective for me, I've lost 22 pounds I think or 23 pounds. And when I started prep, I was already 12% body fat. So to like go down that much, I'm lighter now than I was when I was 22. So 16 years of being heavier than this. So I'm like, I feel small. I don't know what this is like. And I still question those things too. And Liv, I mean, you will have days where you're like, I'm flat. My butt's jiggly. I have no muscle.
Yeah. Yep, we all have
It's such
some
a
of
weird
those.
dynamic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so we're talk to me a little bit about show day. What was it like, getting your hair done? And because I mean, for those who are unfamiliar with like female competitors, there's the whole like glitz and glam of it, where you're getting your hair done, and your makeup, and you have your jewelry and your suit, and then there's the whole theatrics of like getting on stage. Talk me through mentally how it felt to kind of put yourself as the center of attention, because that's a really powerful feeling.
It that was the most leading into it, that was the part I was the most scared about. And the whole bodybuilding prep, like being on a stage in like no clothes and heels that are bigger than any heels I've ever even looked at in my life. I'm not that girl. I'm not that girl. And so to get like 3 coats of spray tan and get the hair extensions in, and they're asking me about my like skincare routine and my makeup contour, and I have no idea what they're saying. Like it was all just like so overwhelming, and it was so hard for me to be okay with like embracing it and being
Yeah.
like, yes, like I'm going to be on a spotlight in the middle of a stage and there's going to be a ton of people staring at me, and I'm going to be dancing around and trying to act confident, in my, and just like all of that was so crazy. I don't think I could have done it without like a posing coach, Ashley, and she had to stop me and be like, "Hey, this is not like shaking your butt up on stage to, be attractive to people. This is like celebrating a new confidence in yourself, and you should be confident because you've been going through a prep for 6 months, like checking all
Yeah.
these boxes." And so when it, like acknowledging all of that and like really letting it register and sitting with it, I think going into show day and like having the spray tan and the hair and the makeup and all those things, I just had to keep telling myself that because it still was uncomfortable, but it was just part of it.
How hard was that for you? Because so I find people who are very self motivated, people who are very type A high achievers, have a really hard time feeling pride, have a really hard time stopping and smelling the roses and recognizing what it is that they're actually working so hard for. Was that something that you had to learn through this process?
Definitely. And I'm very much like I'm in the back corner. I don't want anyone looking at me. I just want to do the thing and go home. I'm not even on social media. And so to be expected to be like that loud and proud of myself on top of like everything was really difficult for me.
When you got off stage, what was the first thing that you thought?
Holy crap. I did it. It's over. I was very overwhelmed, overstimulated, but it was like a sense of relief. Not that it's like, oh, thank God that's over, but like, wow, like I did it.
Yeah.
Was it
Liv,
like a holy shit, that was funner than I expected it to be?
Yeah,
Like you stepped off stage like you're like I had fun up there.
yeah, I was really shocked. that I like could get up there and do. I was so stressed out for my posing routine going into the
Hmm.
weekend. Not just like the mandatories like front, side, back, but like that whole little 10 to 15 seconds where you just have to, be sassy and have your personality flaunt on stage through this posing routine you put together. And who knows what song the DJ is going to be playing for you to prance
Hmm.
around to. Mine ended up being Holla Back Girl. And so when I was walking on stage to that, I was like, well, here we go. And I did it. And it honestly just felt really good. And I was really surprised that I was so comfortable just going through everything and walking off stage and being like, hell yeah, it's over.
I love
I
it.
mean, she also put a lot of practice into posing. Like you were
Oh yeah.
practicing your posing multiple times a week, so it wasn't a, "Yeah, I'm just gonna make sure I know my routine and go up and wing it and hope that I do well." It's hours went into preparing for that.
Absolutely.
So, Liv, this wasn't Claire wasn't your first time competitor, but I'm pretty sure she's the client you've been working with the longest who's decided to jump into a prep. How did that feel
Uh,
for you?
one of.
One of?
I also Kiara, will shout her out too, but
Yeah.
she's been with me since the hybrid days, and very similar kind of background, a little bit different in terms of relationship with food. She was just too in control that we needed to pull her
Mm,
back a little bit. Like a lot of like anxiety and stress that would come about anytime there was travel or something.
right.
So, and then when she wanted to get into a bodybuilding show, and we did her first prep together, and she's done 2 seasons since then. Was there a question, or did I just start rifing off about nothing?
You interrupted me very rudely.
Okay.
my question was
Proceed.
gonna my question was gonna be, how did that feel for you watching Claire go through the process, embrace the challenges, the hardships, being there along the journey? What was that like for you to see that?
I was just fucking proud. And
Mm,
like on show day, when she said that she won, and like seeing the photos and just hearing how happy she was with the whole day, I literally had tears coming out of my eyes. Like I was just, it was just an overwhelming, like my little baby. I took you from here and brought you up here, and because I know that sense of accomplishment and like the things that you learn and everything that we've done for the past 3 years, like you just prove that to yourself tenfold.
mm,
And the self development and improvement and the pride that she's feeling, I'm like I feel that too.
I love that. Yeah, we get so involved with our clients. We take on a lot of their challenges. But I think it's important that we kind of take on their wins. They're not our wins per se, because it's your journey, Claire. Like this was your
Mhm.
thing, but it's pretty special. I remember when Liv shared with me that you won, and she showed me the video. The first thing out of my mouth was, "Yo, her back is jacked."
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
in the video you turn around. I'm like, whoa, damn, a lot of density back
Mhm.
there. But like we see, like you and I don't interact much, right? We interact maybe once in a while via email or whatever, or on the biweekly calls. But I follow along. I keep tabs, and I know how hard that you work. And for me to see how you represented what our values as master athletic performance, right? To be fully about the personal development, be fully entrenched in the journey, and taking on all the challenges head on. There was a lot of pride on my side as well. And also knowing that Olivia played that role for you to facilitate it. It was just amazing to see. So, like, congratulations on that. And what's next?
Thank you. Man, I thought this, the last month of prep, I was like, I can't wait for this to be over. Like, I just want to be normal again. I can't stand this crap. Why did I sign up for it? But as soon as it was over, within a few hours, I was just like, man, I could really do this again. Like, this is so cool. And like you said, like the mental aspect too. Like, physically, yeah, like I had a huge transformation, but like that's not even why I was so happy with the day and so happy with the prep and everything that's happened. It's like the internal change has truly changed my life. And so I think that like that is what I'm chasing and that's what I want so badly. And so I think I'm jumping into an off season with the intent of competing again, but I need to graduate first. I need to like handle some of the stuff in my life before
Yeah.
I do something impulsive again, I would say.
What's also, and there's so much that you can take from that prep and now apply it to your career and let that drive the career focus. I think that's a huge thing that some people miss is like,
Yeah.
I just proved to myself that I can do this really hard shit. I can apply that to other areas of my life, not just with diet and nutrition.
Yeah, Liv, you and I joke all the time. People are like, oh, I learned so much about myself during this prep. And then as soon as the show's over, they just throw it out the window and keep doing the dumb shit that they were doing before.
Yeah.
That's probably my biggest pet peeve of the competition scene, because there is so much personal growth that's possible through manufactured hardship, which is exactly what prep is.
Well, something also Claire just said, it's like that last month you keep saying I just want to be normal again. But for you, that is your normal. You're just doing like a lot less cardio now and eating more food, but your routine and your structure and your discipline, it's still the same because you were doing all
Mm-hmm.
those things beforehand. And I think that's what's going to make your reverse in this postseason easier for you, because it's not, oh, I want to go back to normal and revert back to like fucking off on the weekends and drinking and doing whatever. It's, I'm just going back to all those same things that I was doing. I'm just sleeping more. I'm more recovered and I'm not driving myself into a hole.
Let's talk a little bit about X's and O's maybe now. Like, what does a reverse diet look like, Liv? Like for a natural competitor like Claire?
Um, we, well, show day and like the next day, I just said, enjoy yourself. Obviously, pay attention to your hunger cues. Eat slowly because it's very easy to consume a lot of calories very fast
Mm-hmm.
and end up with a stomach ache. So it's just enjoy, go out with your family, celebrate. And then we brought our calories up quite a bit. It was about a 700 calorie increase, like right off the
Yeah.
bat. Um, 2 to 3 free meals, treats a week for, we'll probably do that for a couple weeks until she kind of feels like, oh, I've had my fix. I'm starting to feel a little bit more mentally in control to
Mm-hmm.
get back to one untracked meal or one estimated meal, whatever she wants to do. But yeah, just working the free meals and the treats and all of that into the plan, because when it's in the plan, there's a lot less guilt
Mm-hmm.
associated with it. There's a lot less, oh, well, I already had 2 cookies this week, so I'm just going to keep this going and try and start again on Monday.
Right. So it becomes more of a conscious choice because it's in the plan. I'm following the plan still.
Yeah, exactly.
So would you consider this to be more of a recovery diet versus a reverse diet?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, with that pretty big increase right off the bat, chopped her cardio in more than half, so 30 minutes as opposed to 75 minutes that she was
Mm-hmm.
doing. Um, and we'll just kind of, just based off her feedback and how she's feeling mentally, slowly continue to bring that cardio down, continue to bring calories up. But it's that first initial jump in calories that's going to get you at least sleeping better, feeling
Mm.
more full, without adding a ton of weight on like right off the bat.
Yeah, it's definitely a balance. Has it been a challenge for you, Claire, to kind of go from as regimented as humanly possible to loosening the reins? Has that been a mental challenge for you?
Yes. When I saw that she was planning on giving me 2 to 3 free meals a week, I got nervous about that. I'm not nervous about, the reverse dieting aspect of just like doing 30 minutes of cardio instead of my 75 and having more food. even that, like I was like, oh my gosh, I get to like eat flexibly again. Like I'm not on a meal plan, but approaching like a free meal is still very scary to me because I know like my past and my history. Like I
Hmm.
had that little whisper in my head, like, oh, you're gonna binge, you're gonna get a taste of something. And the idea, I had a really hard time with the moderation, like all in, what do you call it? The fuck it mentality. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I didn't track this one thing. So like, fuck it. Like the rest of the day, I'm just going to eat what I want to eat. And tomorrow is a new day and maybe I'll start over tomorrow. Like I thought that I would dive back into that, but I actually just had my first untracked meal today and I just wanted Chick-fil-A. And so I got a Chick-fil-A sandwich and I ate it and I ate it slow and I listened to my hunger and then it was done and over and I was like, okay, I feel a little bit better and now I satisfied like a little bit of a craving and I was in control that whole time and I'm going to move on with my day. And I feel like that part is going to be really important to me through this reverse diet, like adhering to that and being comfortable with doing that.
Yeah. So you're actually going to use the lessons that you've learned to improve your relationship with food during this recovery process
Yes.
versus let them. Yeah, dude, I love that. I love that. It also made me really hungry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm
Chick-fil-A.
just messing around. Yeah, Chick-fil-A, honestly, I mean, Liv, you and I talked about this. We're both not really craving much food. We're just hungry and tired.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, all right. We're gonna transition into some fun questions. What was the first thing you ate when you got off stage?
I everyone around me for the last 2 months of my prep knew I wanted a gigantic burger with all of the toppings, French fries, a beer, and ice cream. Like that was my first meal, and that was all I thought about every day for the last month,
Mhm.
probably.
Did
Okay.
you have any like cookies or like immediately off like backstage, or you
Yeah,
waited until you got to a restaurant?
yeah. I thought I would be that way, but I wasn't, and I didn't even want sweets or anything like that. I just wanted like food.
Yeah.
I
But
think I'm
the show ended up finishing pretty early, like at 4 or something. And so we just took our time getting over to a nice little burger spot. I went crazy when we got there.
That's awesome. Well, fuck, you deserve it, man. 6 months of prep, getting in the best shape of your life, proving to yourself that you could do it. Like, give her hell. Fucking enjoy it. Um, what was the single most challenging moment that you had during the prep? Like, because I can point to one moment during my first prep where I was like, fuck. What was your holy shit moment during prep where you're like, this is hard?
I think I FaceTimed Olivia on this day to talk about reverse dieting. I had like a really especially terrible day at my clinical rotation where my clinical instructor was just like having a day, I guess, and she severely took it out on me. And I had slept through my alarm that morning with the intent of doing my cardio after my workout that day. And so it was 6 to 6. She was so mean to me. She like loaded down my schedule. It was a Friday, and then made me stay
Oh,
after the clinic. And then I like almost she called me out in front of everybody and said that it was disrespectful that I was doing a bodybuilding prep through her clinical rotation and I didn't get to feel sorry for myself. And she just like degraded me in front of everybody. I went to the bathroom and was like, don't cry, don't cry. And then I went back out there and finished the day because that was my like sticking it to her. And then I was eating my meal prep in the break room, like finishing paperwork. And then she came and dropped like a stack of paperwork on top of my meal prep and was like, you can't leave the clinic until you finish this. And then she turned the lights off in the clinic and left. And I was the only person in the building. And I still had to do leg day later. And I still had to do cardio. And I just had a mental breakdown.
I think in those moments you really figure out who you are.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a tough one.
Liv, did you ever have any moments during Claire's prep where you kind of felt sorry for her?
Yeah, every time that we had to increase cardio or
Yeah.
drop food more, because
Yeah.
I like it's not just like unemployed person or like a student that has one or two classes a day. Like she was working, and I knew how stressful her work environment was, to the point where it's like her doing her cardio and getting in. to train, which are sometimes the hardest parts for people, that was her time. That was the stuff that she was looking forward to. Um, so I just, yeah, I felt for you. I knew stress was a lot higher than the average person through this prep.
Yeah. That's really all I got. I think we jumped into everything. There's a lot to pull out of a prep, and I'm really proud of the way that you handled yourself and represented yourself and grew through this process. So I'm also very grateful that you took the time a week post show to share that with us.
Thank you. I'm grateful for you guys. Like, there's no way I would have gotten to where I am today, like internally or externally, without your guidance. And I feel like I learned something new about myself every day because of you guys.
Liv, do you have any closing remarks?
Um, I don't know. Just that I love Claire, and I wish that we could adopt her and have her as our little child here. Um, yeah, no, it's honestly like she is the ideal client,
Yeah, I'd
and
agree.
we've Paul and I have talked about this, and this is why we have someone like you at like the foundation of what we want Master Athletic to represent. Um, so it's really just an honor to be able to coach someone like you.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. So we'll have links to where everyone can find you in the show notes, meaning we will have no links because you don't exist online.
yeah.
Um, but I hope that those of you listening pulled out some value from this, whether you're a coach who is going to be coaching competitors, or you are a first time competitor looking to learn something. There's a ton of lessons in here on how to really make the most of a bodybuilding prep, how to embrace the process, how to use it as an opportunity for personal growth. And we're so grateful that Claire was able to join us. Please make sure to like, share, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, and we'll catch you on the next one.